MVP.
but the supporting cast that he has is simply not adequate to win a championship. Mm-hmm. I'm fine with him putting up these numbers because then he'll get the accolades, he'll get the respect as being one of the best in the world. But eventually, that's not going to be enough because right now he's still a young player. He still has his time to assert his dominance. And we just saw last year he's shown that he can put his team in a situation where they made the Western Conference Finals. But I think that if they played the Grizzlies, I don't know if they get past the Grizzlies. They went against Golden State, and they got put in their place. It wasn't even a true series by any means. So, yes, Luka is still great that his team will make the playoffs. He could win a playoff series, but nothing more than that.
I do think there's a bit of an overreaction here with the Mavericks. They're 6-5. They haven't been off to the best of starts, but I think a lot of players here are shooting at clips that they're going to be better at, quite frankly. Tim Hardaway Jr., I do expect him to be better than 34% from three. Dorian Finney-Smith is shooting 32% from three.
Poor.
Bullock is shooting 32% from three. Kleba is shooting 29% from three. They're better shooters than that, and I think they're going to play better as well. I don't think the problem with the Mavericks are the role players. I think the role players are fine. They're championship caliber role players. They just don't have another star.
Ooh, Spencer Dinwiddie. Are you talking about Spencer Dinwiddie, or are you
Dorian
talking about
Finney-Smith
Dorian
is a championship caliber
Who
role
else?
player. I think Reggie Bullock is a championship caliber role player.
I'm gonna disagree with that one.
If he goes to Golden State, he'd fit perfect there.
Yeah, but
so
we
Golden
have
State.
That's different.
Going to Golden State.
I get what you mean.
What playoff team can Reggie Bullock not help right now?
You said what championship team?
Milwaukee. Would he not be perfect there?
No, I'm agreeing with you. I think you have a good point. They have a lot of championship level.
Yes, they have great role players. They just don't have another star.
But that's a problem, though.
Yes, and if you don't have another star, it's hard to get to the next level. But the role players are fine.
But how is it an overreaction if this has been the same Dallas team and the same problem for like 3 years?
Yeah. Well, right now it's an overreaction because these guys are going to play better. They are.
Oh yeah,
they're going to play better.
Yeah.
I
Is this
think
a championship roster?
Fuck no.
No, but you wouldn't have said this is Western Conference Finals roster last year.
Well, it was a. You know what? Good point. Good point there.
I think Luka, these guys are going to play better. They tried to surround Luka with a star last year with Kristaps Porzingis. I mean, and that just didn't work, and they eventually moved off of KP. I just feel like the major mistake was letting Jalen Brunson walk in the offseason. I do. And while he's not a solidified star, all-star player, he is somebody now that has helped the New York Knicks a lot in just controlling the flow of the offense.
He fit very well with Luka.
He was a great Luka counterpart, and that affected Brunson's numbers because his numbers could have been better. But then you had Dinwiddie off the bench, and you could have had Brunson and Luka starting, and you could have had Dinwiddie and Christian Wood off the bench, and that's one of the best bench units in basketball. The main problem with Luka right now in his usage percentage is that there just isn't much sharing of the ball. The Mavericks are 30th in assists per game. They're not a good rebounding team. They're dead last in rebounding as well. The JaVale McGee signing has not been one that's looked that good because he's frankly an older center and he's past what he once was, which when he was at his best was good, nothing special. But Luka throughout the game in the first quarter, he shoots 53% from the field. In the second quarter, 53% from the field. In the third quarter, 48% from the field.
Tired.
And in the fourth quarter, 36% from the field.
That was the same against the Clippers in the first round.
Yeah,
Second time.
Luka throughout each quarter gets more and more worn down because there is another player to take the load off of him. Last year, that was Jalen Brunson. This year, they don't have that. The only two shot creators on their team are Spencer Dinwiddie and Luka, versus last year you had three with Dinwiddie, Luka, and Brunson. So you can stagger the minutes of Brunson and Luka. You can even have some minutes without Brunson and Luka and then have just Dinwiddie out there. And now it's just super hard. And you mentioned it. We haven't seen this style of team win championships. And when we've seen this style get close, it's been when Harden has had a point guard like a Chris Paul. And I'm not saying Brunson is Chris Paul, but just a guy who can take the load off of your main star, and that was Brunson.
So let me ask you
I understand Brunson didn't want to stay in Dallas, and he wanted to have the keys to an offense and run it. But I would have given Brunson what he wanted. I would have paid him what he wanted for him to stay in Dallas.
So let me ask you a question, because like we mentioned, it does happen. You know, we've seen the rare occurrences with Allen Iverson. You know, Hakeem Olajuwon to a degree. You know, I wouldn't consider it a fully true heliocentric offense, but we've seen that one guy go into one-man tandem and just carry to the play. Luka last year to a degree.
You said Hakeem?
Yeah, like to a degree, you know.
Wasn't Clyde on both those squads?
No, he's only on the second.
Only on the second?
Yeah.
Okay.
Luka last year to a degree went on a one-man tandem. But you mentioned, because I wanted to ask you a question, because Brunson was there last season, but you saw when they went up against the Warriors, he wasn't good enough to be that second guy to kind of get him over a team like that. So what type of player do you think they should go for now? Because teams are getting better. You know, you got Memphis, who's gotten better. Like you said, they could have met Memphis, and that could have been the same type of ass whooping. I don't know. It's hypotheticals, but there's always going to be a team that's going to be in the way that can really disrupt that type of scheme. So what type of player do you think they need?
There's a brand new fantasy app. It's called Boom Fantasy. You got over-unders, player props. You got matchups. This player versus that player. That's personally my favorite, and long shots. You can win 40 times your money. And if I'm not mistaken, Joel, NBA is coming soon.
Yes, sir. NBA will be in the app in the next 10 days or so. You know, wow. I believe opening night is October 19th, so we'll have stuff up a few days beforehand. That's going to be fun because we have it every night. You don't have to wait till Monday, Thursday.
Did you get your code? For the League Pass?
I did get my code for the League Pass.
I got my code too.
Yep, that's amazing.
That's from 2K, right?
Yes.
That's tough.
Amazing.
That's fire.
So if you guys haven't already, download the Boom Fantasy app right now. Link is in our description or in the caption wherever you're watching.
I don't want to say it's tragic that this is not a possibility, but Karl Anthony Towns. It's not a possibility, but I feel like a guy like Karl Anthony Towns and Luka would fit perfectly with one another.
Cat. You think Cat?
No, I don't.
I don't think Cat, bro.
I feel like
another
you can
big.
have a big that actually can
do what?
Stretch the floor, actually score at an efficient clip. Is this mine? I apologize, y'all. Can score at an efficient clip. Is a decent passer as well, and someone that's actually reliable. Is that you?
Is that me?
Someone. It's okay. Either which way.
I don't think it's Cat just because I think defensively he'll get killed.
They're stuck in limbo right now.
I do think the addition of just Christian Wood and keeping Brunson would have.
Oh, yeah. If they kept Christian, they got Christian and kept Brunson.
Yes.
Is that a champ?
I don't know.
It's
bro.
not a championship team.
That's a team that can definitely compete though at a high level.
But I think they want to. You got to. Yeah. I mean,
and free agency, like a Chris Middleton would fit this team perfect too.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, I mean, what was it? Keep the Brunson. It wasn't the bag. He just didn't want to be in Dallas anymore.
Yeah, but right now they do need rebounding and they need to pass the ball more. So they need more of that.
Well,
it's just more unselfishness.
They got 2 ball dominant players.
Yeah, ultimately it's just a problem with Luka as well, and how that's the only style of play that he knows. So unless they change the system around to being more unselfish, then there really isn't anything that's going to be major with the Mavericks.
Well,
there's nothing that's going to change.
That was the same thing with Trae Young, though. In a sense, it was just a him system. But then you go get a guy that can give you that can take the load off another guard. Same thing with Harden and Chris Paul. You know, somebody who doesn't have the same game as you, but plays around the same position, can play make as well, and can play off ball. With Luka, it's kind of like we can say he doesn't do it, and that's his problem, which is fair. But he's had to have the ball at all, because Reggie Bullock, you're not giving him the ball to create. Dorian Finney-Smith, you're also not giving the ball to create. And those are the guys who crunch time, they get those minutes. So, and Dinwiddie he's a good, but he's not a number 2. No. You know, so they got to figure out a way to find the guy. You know, I wish we can plug. You know, I wish we can like push Jaden Hardy 5 years in and see if he can be that, you know, number 2 scorer for them. But they got to find a guy who can go get them a bucket, also create for others. Same way how DeJounte helps Trae, Chris Paul help Harden, because I think that's all Dallas is missing realistically.
In the years coming, we're gonna find out if Luka is coachable, and by that I mean, yes, Luka is this amazing basketball player, but for just reference point, Michael Jordan, it took him a couple games to realize I can't be selfish. It won't result in winning games. Michael Jordan was obviously coachable in that sense. He was ball dominant, realized I can facilitate, still get mine, and lead to playing winning basketball, championship level basketball. Luka's putting up insane numbers. Now, if he gets a player that he can trust and rely on, he has a supporting cast that he can trust and rely on, is he going to be coachable in the sense of, I don't need to be Superman every night. I can trust these guys, facilitate the basketball, move around, and still have success. Because when it was with KP, it seemed as if even still he was hesitant. He still was very ball dominant, wasn't as willing to give up the ball. And now he still doesn't have that option. Now we're seeing it be the heliocentric offense. But when he does get that, we're going to find out in the years coming whether or not Luka is a coachable player or not.
That's an interesting point. I'm not going to lie.